Ohio's Small Business Spotlight, powered by Greg Fay Insurance, where every single week we sit down with incredible small community entrepreneurs, executives, people who are doing the most for the community. Because we believe, as I'm sure you do as well, that small businesses are the backbone of our community. I'm your host, Tony Miltenberger, along with my co host, Greg Fay. Greg, tell everybody who we have on the podcast this week.
Well, Kyle Dudley being on our podcast this week is really a product of one of the things, and I'm afraid I'm going to tip your hand here
I
for
already
the
told
last
him, Greg. I
question,
already
Tony.
told him.
Well, Kyle's a product of exactly what we want to happen. Jonathan Willis, who owns Train with Willis and Willis and Rife Realtors, recommended Kyle Dudley. He texted me about 2 weeks ago, and we had an opening because of a scheduling faux pas that was my error. And Kyle jumped right on it. And Jonathan said, "You got to get this guy on. He's a veteran. He's a local business owner. He owns. You're not going to have to really try to figure out what he does, because he did one of the things that's most important for business owners. He put it right in his name. There's no trying to figure it out. Door Service Solutions, Kyle Dudley. We are super happy to have you, brother."
Yeah, thank you very much. Real honor to be here.
Kyle, I want to start by talking about the transitions that you've made in your life. You're a Marine Corps veteran, firefighter, and now you're an entrepreneur, Door Service Solutions. How do you know in your life when it's the right time to pivot to your next yes?
I don't know. I'll be very honest with you. I don't even know that it was the right time, but I decided that I don't think I'm ever going to know when the right time was. I felt like I had enough experience in what I was doing, and I basically just trusted myself. And I decided to make the transition from the fire service to full-time into my business. And I haven't looked back. I was able to dedicate a lot more time, obviously, to it, and I think it's paid off, and it's grown ever since.
Life experiences, what we've learned here, Kyle, is life experiences as we've coming up on maybe near episode 40, if we've talked to 40 business owners. Life experiences really molds what your business looks like. You're a Marine Corps vet, you're a firefighter. Both professions require a dedication, a selfless, and a selfless being. And really, I bet that excellence has a ton to do. It's what Jonathan led with, and it's what we oftentimes hear business owners talk about. Dalton Dodd was just on, and he talked about Sugar Valley and Jasper Hills golf clubs, and he overused the word excellence, but I get what he meant, because it's so important. Why did Jonathan say to me that we need to have you on? Because your entire persona is excellence. Tell me what that means.
Well, I really appreciate those words from him. You know, anything we do, we try to do it to our best. I mean, I personally, from my background, I think I'm a little bit more critical than some others may be. I could be very wrong about that, but we try to provide the absolute best service when you call for your garage door, your opener, whatever the case may be. In my head, I treat that as if I'm going on a call like I would at the firehouse, where when we get there, we're starting as we're pulling up down the road, looking at the house, looking at the type of building construction. That's what's going through my head. I'm looking at the door. I'm starting to find issues that I could see from the exterior of the building, and working my way in trying to diagnose not just what's the problem at hand, but what else might happen later down the road. Once we fix problem one, is there going to be a problem two? So that's kind of the mindset I have. That's what I have had. That's what I'm instilling in my guys, and it might be something because of that.
You've got over 119 Google reviews, and your rating is through the roof, like 5 stars all the way through. It's clear to me that you've created a culture of feedback loops with clients and customers. Talk to me a little bit about creating that feedback loop so you know what you did right. I'm sure there's a couple of bad ones in there, right? They sneak in. You never like them. You try to bury them. But what's obvious to me is the feedback loop is real. How did you develop a culture that says, hey, we want your feedback, we want your review, and it matters?
So I'll be very honest. I was a little nervous my first year in this, and I never asked for any Google reviews. So everything that everybody's seen on Google as far as the reviews probably didn't start to about a year and a half into the business. With that being said, I do, because I'm the owner, and for a long time I was the owner and operator of everything. I texting customers. I give them the option. Email, as always, phone call, or text. And what I've found is, why sometimes it's kind of cumbersome, developing that relationship, because that's just kind of what organically people have kind of fallen into when they're texting people. So a lot of times when I'm texting a customer, they might make a joke, and I just run with it, like, oh yeah, that's funny, I got a similar experience, whatever the case may be. And we kind of build a little bit of a bond, or at least I try to build some type of a bond with the customer, so they feel more comfortable. Because I will tell you, there's been a lot of times where, and I tell people this, I give them the background and the history of us. I try to avoid people having to take time off work to get their garage door service. So I try to build a bond with them so that they know who's coming into their house, whether they're there or not, what we're going to be doing. And it's really just like, hey, sir or ma'am, we're here right now. I see the broken spring. Also, we found this, that, and the other. I'm going to be sending you some pictures. It's up to you. This is what we would recommend, and this is why. Not just what's the problem, how's it going to fix it, but why. And I think people find a lot of value in that, and it keeps conversations going. Like a lot of follow-up text messages weeks after, like, thank you very much. We've already noticed a difference in the sound of our door, or our kids not waking up in the morning when we go to work. We get those a lot, and we follow up with just a simple text message like, you're more than welcome, sir or ma'am. We're happy we could be there to help you, and do that. That's really just how I conduct business.
Boy, I tell you, it's funny, the mediums in which we communicate with. You have a pretty significant, you and I just became Facebook friends about the time that we booked this right here, and I'm very impressed with your social media, and I see some interaction on there. Can you speak to the business owner that in their mind says, well, it's so much easier for me if people would communicate the way that I want to communicate? I want to email them. I want to have a record of our conversation in one place. I don't want it to be all over the place. I'm fearful of commenting on social media because you know how comment sections can go sideways, even in the best of circumstances. What do you say to the business owner that is rigidly set in, boy, I've got to do it my way, or the highway, really? And I hear you saying that you recognize that people did that. I mean, I tell people, if you want to communicate by smoke signal, we'll communicate by smoke signal. It doesn't matter to me. But why that move from the rigid? And what advice could you give a business owner that has that rigid, they need to communicate the way I want to?
I would say, if you're stuck in one way, how are you going to adapt to things in the future that aren't just a form of communication with the customer? How are you going to, find new ways to conduct your business if right off the rip, the customer who you're out there trying to serve wants to do this and you're already saying no? I think the biggest thing is, like, let's find a way to yes. Like, how can we, I know you might like emailing, but this customer doesn't like to email, and they're the ones who are going to be paying for your service. I think we need to look at adapting, and let's find a way to yes to where everybody's happy. And maybe it's just this one time, or maybe it's several times, but at least it's that first time that you're trying a different way to communicate with that customer, At least you're trying it. It's the first time. You'll build from it. You'll get better organically the more times you do it.
One of the things that's clear to me is that you have a very customer first kind of mentality, which I think is so important. It's hard to do garage door sales, I would imagine, right? It's one of those things where everybody needs, but anytime you have to spend money on a garage door, it's like, man, this is 45. This is adulting. No one's like, wow, look at this great new garage door purchase. It's just not sexy, right? It's not a sexy sale.
No, it's not.
How do you create culture for your team, understanding the reality of the need and understanding the burden of responsibility that homeowners have with it, and still servicing them like it's a brand new car?
Well, luckily, every time we put a new door in, it 9.9 times out of 10 is already sounding better. So hearing it, they see the value and they're excited about it. We hear that all the time, like, this is so much quieter. The second thing is, thanks to LiftMaster, they've put a lot of cool trinkets on these openers. Secure view cameras, the lighting is top notch, automatic lighting, the battery backup, the super quiet motors, the app to run your garage door, that's right there. And this is one of the LiftMaster selling points, like, because you're right. Here's what we can do. We can show you our product. We can show you how to use it. And we can show you how it's going to provide a lot more value and ease in your life. That is one of the things I get excited about telling customers when I go in, I see a 15, 20-year-old motor that's literally just going to go up and down and not do anything else. When that's replaced with one of our new ones, and they come out and they look and they see it and they're just like, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, well, pull your phone out. Let's keep the good times going. Let me show you what it can do now, okay? And guess what? If your power goes out in a storm, this isn't going to stop working. This is going to keep going for you. And then I show them. Well, sometimes we unplug it after everything's set and squared away, and I'm like, go hit your button. Boom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so convenient. We hear the stories all the time. But that's how we make it somewhat appealing. We want to sell it. And we don't just want to sell something that they're going to see and be done with in 2 days. We want to sell something to them and show them the value that they're going to appreciate long term, because that's the goal. Is not just to quickly sell somebody something, but sell them something that they can see the value in it daily. So that's how we do it.
Well, you sell. You took it and made it sexy. It reminds me of my best friend and a fellow agent in our agency, Charlie Drain. He used to sell cars, and I bought multiple cars from him. And when it was done, I'm just ready to enjoy that new car smell. I'm ready to get it and roll. And he's like, "Oh no, we're going to show you how to use every feature." And then he would say something very similar that you said, boy, you like that one. We're going to keep the party rolling, with learning how to do this right here. So very similar. I want to ask you a question, and I normally ask it a little bit differently, and I think this way is a little more fair to ask it. I always like to ask people what has jumped out of the bushes at you that you did not expect. And maybe it physically put a halt to your business for a period of time because you couldn't figure out how to get over that hurdle. But what's some unexpected, but also I want to give you an opportunity to, because business owners are going to learn from this, but I want you to also share one of your biggest success stories. And maybe they're the same, maybe they're two different things, but give me something on both of those, my friend.
So as far as something that's kind of caught us off guard, I don't know that there's been anything, and I sure don't want to sound like I'm this to be weird or anything, but I think the only thing that's really caught us off guard is sometimes products come in damaged. And, a lot of people don't know this, but like when we go to pick a door up from one of our distributors, it's packaged how it was in the factory. And we don't have any, from the distributors I use, none of those distributors are in Ohio. They're all coming from different states. So one thing that's like sometimes very hard to work around is we get to the job site, we've now unboxed their door, and we have a panel that's dented. And this is where like you really have to stay focused and start figuring out working the problem. Is now I got to do warranty. I have to go get the new panel, pay the labor to come back and install it, and first and foremost, I have to go to the customer who's been waiting for this anywhere from 2, sometimes 6 weeks, depending on the style, and say, I apologize, you have a panel that's dented. That's the hardest part right there, is having to go to a customer and say, sir, ma'am, I'm very sorry about this, but during shipping, somewhere your door got dented. And we have to navigate that. The first time that happened to me, I'm like, oh man, because I'd never done a warranty. I was 30, 40 doors in, and I luckily just never had one. That was one of the harder ones, which I know sounds very low on the scale to some, but it's something we can't control. We have no control over it, because the way we package our doors when we pick them up, we do not let them, like, they're not sitting around. They are taken care of and treated like fine china. So that was a big one for us to have to deal with, and it always is. It's going to come up. I don't have any real big, like, holy cow, this was a mind-blowing moment that now we got to navigate through that. Fortunately, from being in the Marine Corps, being in the fire service, I'm always trying to think ahead and looking at what could be a problem later. What might we have to face on this job? I haven't had one, thankfully. Knock on wood, I haven't.
Well, all my business owners listening to this right now are going to shift focus and start selling garage doors, because they're like, if that's the worst that can happen, then I'm going to go into that business right there.
Well, I mean, there's things that other things that can happen. Thankfully, it just hasn't happened to us. I will say, one of the things I've told all the guys that have worked for me in the past and work for me currently, we need to be thinking. We need to be constantly keeping our head on a swivel, thinking about the little things. The little things add up, and when you keep track of those little things, you'll always notice the big things. So I always kind of preach that. As far as a big success story, growing some of our commercial accounts. I believe we're in 7 different firehouses in our area. We also do a ton of work for FedEx, which was a huge account for us. 9 of the buildings from Columbus down to CVG, we've been in doing work. Probably 4 or 5 of those continuous work, constantly, weekly almost. That was huge, and the big thing about that I really appreciated, and I thought was like a kind of a monumental thing, is not only developing that relationship, but growing it with them. These are people I reach out to weekly, and it's become less of a business, not a friendship, but that middle right there where we can talk kind of freely to each other. Hey, how's it going? Haven't heard from you. There's several different people, but haven't heard from you in a minute. What's new? What's going on? Some of those, our contacts, they're not even in America. They're located over in the UK division. And, hearing somebody from the UK talk to you and developing a relationship, it's really great. We all work very well together. We've continued to do this. And to be honest with you, that connection started with a random phone call while I was at the firehouse that I didn't even think I was going to take. I didn't even know if I could take it. And I went out there, I took it. The gentleman was very open and honest, like, I'm looking for somebody who is a smaller business that I can have a constant contact with, because there's a lot of emergency services, service calls that come out for those locations. I want to have somebody who's dependable, I could talk to, we could follow up with. And sir, you found him. Happy to be that guy, and as he's talking, I'm sitting there thinking, like, Okay, well, I'm at my other full-time job doing that now. So yes, I could be that for you. And then 2 weeks later, we hit the ground running and done nothing to grow that relationship with them, to the extent that we see the same people that have been working at some of these locations for years. And it's, hey Mark, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey April, how are you? How's the weekend? We're on those kind of relationships, and to me, that's been really huge, because why the firehouses, I could not appreciate more having them as a customer. I obviously know a lot of the people who have been in those firehouses and worked with a lot of them. This was an organic thing that truly happened just because of my business, and I think that account right there is one of the things that I'm really proud of.
Rightfully so. That makes a lot of sense. I think I want to ask one more question before we get to our closing. And the question is about expansion and growth. What's very apparent to me is that you are a detail-oriented entrepreneur. Some might even say control freak, I would venture to say. If I were to do a 360 evaluation on your employees.
It looks like he wears that title with pride.
The control freak. So this is hard, right? Because a lot of us who are executives and entrepreneurs are control freaks, and we struggle with expansion because the more we expand, the less we can control. How have you mitigated that risk? How have you dealt with that part of the reality of growing a business and into what now looks like a fairly large business servicing garage doors all over Ohio and beyond?
So really it came down to I initially had two guys who were firemen who had done garage door work before their fire service career. So I was really able to lean on them, and because I didn't know everything they knew, I would be the first one to say it, I did micromanage, and I didn't need to. And I saw over the years how that's not going to work. That's not going to work, because what I was doing at that point is saying, yeah, I know you, I know we're buddies. Thank you for working for me, but I don't trust what you're doing without me being there. And it took me a while to see that, but I'm glad everything played out the way it did so that I can see that. I will tell you now that I've hired 2 full-time guys, neither of which were in the fire service. This is their full-time job. This is what they do. It's been a heck of a task trying to kind of let that go. I've had to force myself, when they're on jobs and I'm not there, go do anything else to get your mind off what could be going wrong with me not there. And I then again found, like, well, that's not the right mentality either. Why don't we focus on what's all going right on the job while I'm not there versus what's going wrong? Let's focus on all the right things going on while I'm not there. That way we can keep that on the front burner, be happy about that, and then tidy up anything that needs fixed if they need me. That's worked pretty well for me. I'll be very honest with you. I'm still nervous. These guys have been with me almost 3 months now, 5 days a week. From where they started to where they're at is grossly noticeable. But that's what I had to do. I had to force myself to step back and just be like, let's trust that these grown men have been paying attention, learning at an expedient rate, and they're eager to go out there and do what they've been learning. So let's focus on that. If there's a little issue, great. You know what? We'll manage that. But let's celebrate all the other victories that probably happened out there with me not being there. So that's what I've done.
Tony, before you ask him about the guests that we could have, I just want to comment right there. I want to echo something that you said. You said it at the beginning of that little blurb right there, but you circled back to it. I want to echo that, man, you said that you learn from your employees. And I just want to encourage so many other business owners to adopt and embrace what Kyle said there, because when you think that you're responsible for everything and you micromanage stuff, you eliminate that opportunity to learn anything. So Kyle, I just wanted to give you some props for that right there. Other business owners really need to hear that. T?
Well, the last question we love to ask people, Kyle, and I gave you a heads up before we even hit record, because we were giving, obviously giving Mr. Willis all the credit of our connection. So we love to ask people, what are some businesses in the community that we should be talking to, that we all should be learning from, small businesses like yours that are centered here in the Miami Valley?
Well, so I do a lot with these guys, a lot of talk and shop. I've worked with a couple of all these guys actually. They've also went out on their own and done businesses, excuse me, on their own, and I think they're great. And they're all very like-minded, detail-oriented, want to succeed and want to see our team succeed. But first one I would say is Rusty Lovell and Nick Vacchiano. They are with Next Level Fencing. Both full-time firefighters. They both had built a fence, and I kind of watched this. They actually built my fence at my last house, and I watched this at the kitchen table in the mornings during shift change, how they wanted to start talking about building fences together. And now they're going in on their third season doing meticulous work. The other one's going to be Nick Coltrane with Triton Steam Cleaning. Nick, former police officer, great human. His business is great. I don't even know. I could keep going on and on, but it's a great business. They've branched out to some other things, so they're constantly growing. And I'll tell you right now, their team, that they only clean that's the only people who call for our carpet cleaning and floor cleaning. Every time, 3 or 4 times, I think, those guys come out, great people to be in your home. I'll just say that. The last one is Grant Hawkins with First Due Lawn and Landscaping, also a full-time firefighter. 4 years, I think, in business. Incredible job. Just incredible job. Great guy. Wants to see the mission succeed. Like with all those guys, they want the mission to succeed, and they're going to do what it takes to do it. So all 3 of those guys right there, I've used all their services, and I'm not saying it because they're my friends. I'm saying it because they're people I trust and respect. They do great work. Absolute great work.
Tony, it's so ironic. We're starting to see a pattern of people recommending people that we've already had on, and Nick Coltrane and Triton Steam Clean is one we've already had on.
Did we have him on?
We did.
I think I might have missed that episode.
He was early on, but see, I love that. I love that because birds of a feather flock together. Business owners that are insanely conscientious about excellence and about detail and about learning from their employees. I just thought that was noteworthy. Thank you for those recommendations right there.
Well, just so you know, if there's another one you want, Carl Fugate, Fairborn firefighter. He does amazing woodworking. This is actually his work right there.
Oh, wow.
He's done a lot for Anthony Munoz from the Bengals, Ted Karras from the Bengals. They've teamed up with him to build stuff like this. He's another one. Great guy. He's run a great operation over there.
Sweet.
It's awesome. Awesome. Kyle, thank you so much for the time today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your generosity, giving back
Absolutely.
to the small business community. It's such a gift.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, friends, that's our episode for today. As always, we are forever thankful for you. Hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts, or follow us on our YouTube channel. And thank you. Thank you for supporting small businesses, because we know, just like you do, that small businesses are the backbone of our community. And thank you to our title sponsor, my dear friend who keeps all of this running, Greg Fay. So until next week, we'll see you guys real soon.